يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. This week we are going to focus on the topic cognition, referring to thinking, intelligence, and language. Islam made strong recommendations about doing research, thinking over and reasoning, and how the manner of the people who do not use their mind to analyze good and bad are criticized. There are a plethora of verses in the Al-Quran that encourage Muslims to observe and study the signs of Allah in the whole universe. Allah says, "And it is He who spread the earth and placed therein firmly set mountains and rivers, and from all the fruits He made therein two mates. He causes the night to cover the day. Indeed, in that are signs for people who give thought." Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 13. And if you refuse to observe and think, Allah further says in Surah Al-Anfal, verse 22, "Indeed, the words of living creatures in the sight of Allah are the deaf and dumb." It is well evident in many more verses in the Quran that emphasize the importance of reasoning and thinking and full use of our capacity of thought. And Al-Quran has spoken about the word thinking or yaqilun, reasoning and knowledge, for nearly 1,000 times. In psychological field, to fully understand how we do the things we do, such as learning, remembering and acting, we need to know how we think, how we organize our thoughts, and what do you know about intelligence? For this topic, we are going to learn about how mental images are involved in the process of thinking. Then I will describe how concepts and prototypes influence our thinking. The discussion in this video will follow on by identifying some methods that we often use to solve problems and make decisions. In solving problems, there are potential barriers that we often face. Therefore, certain type of thinking, such as creative and divergent thinking, would be helpful. Let us look into the first part. What is thinking and what is mental images? Thinking or cognition can be defined as mental activity that is going on in our brain when we process information. It involves organizing it, understanding it, and communicating it to others, as well as storing information or memory. During the thought process, mental images that represent objects or events and have a picture-like quality are one of the tools being used. For example, if I ask you how many windows are there in your house, and please tell me as fast as you can, I bet you will definitely shout out an answer with fewer numbers of windows in your house. But if I give you more time to count and to respond, I will think that you will give more numbers of windows in your house. This is of course because you will have more time to walk through the image of windows that were created in your mind. Now, let us look into another aspects in thinking, which are called concepts and prototypes. Concepts are ideas that represent a class or category of objects, events, or activities. For example, if I say cat, kittens, and adult cats, both of these animals are cat. They have fur, forelegs, and tail. And the ability to think in terms of concepts allow us to communicate with each other. There are also fixed definitions and specific rules or features of concept. We call it as formal concept. Formal concept is such as like the shape of square or triangle. Mathematics is full of formal concept, isn't it? But what if things do not easily fit the rules or features? For example, when I ask you what is vehicle, I can guarantee that the image of car or train comes into your mind. But what about a raft or submarine? Those two objects are not quite easy to be called a vehicle, but we can classify them as vehicle. These are examples for natural concepts. It is a bit fuzzy or blurry, but it helps us to understand the surrounding in a less structured manner. Let us look to another term, prototype. Prototype is an example of a concept that closely matches the defining characteristics of the concept. For instance, fruit is sweet, grows on trees, and has seeds, just like apple. Everyone knows apple is a fruit. Durian is also a fruit, but people in America may have never seen a durian before. So people who have different experiences with fruit will form different prototypes, which are the most basic examples of concepts. So do you spend more time thinking about tomato or olive, whether they are fruits or vegetables? Aha, that is because your prototype of fruit is sweet, but not for tomatoes and olives, right? Anyways, concepts are one of the ways we deal in dealing with information. We organize them and may take the form of schema. Schema is a mental generalization about objects, places, events, and people. Let me give you an example. Our schema for a library will include books and bookshelves, even the librarian. It follows with script. A script is a kind of schema that involves a familiar sequence of activities. For example, when you go to the library, it would involve traveling there, scan your student metric card, and remain silent while in the library. Well, there you go. The other part of the video will discuss on identifying some methods that we often use to solve problems and make decisions, as well as some potential barriers that we often face in making decisions and problem solving.